Imagine it's Tuesday, June 16th, 2026. You're standing inside a packed stadium in Kansas City. The air is thick with heat and noise. 90,000 voices are rising and falling like an ocean. The floodlights burn white against the darkening summer sky. Flags from 100 nations ripple in the stands. Somewhere in that sea of color, an old man in a sky blue and white shirt. He grips the railing with shaking hands because he has waited his whole life for this night. On the pitch below, a small figure in number 10 jogs onto the grass. He is 38 years old and his hair is flecked with gray now. Almost everyone in that stadium understands without anyone saying it out loud. They may be watching the final World Cup of Lionel Messi. The whistle is about to blow on this single evening. Across 3 different cities in North America, 3 legends step onto the stage. 3 of the greatest footballers alive are about to play at the same hour. The old gods and the new, Messi, Mbappe, and Haaland. What happened over the next few hours would send a message to every team. It was a warning that the gods had arrived. If you love untold football stories and hidden moments, subscribe now. Because the story you're about to hear changed football history forever. To understand why this one Tuesday mattered so much, look at the size of it. This was not an ordinary World Cup unfolding around the world. The 2026 FIFA World Cup is being jointly hosted in 16 cities. 11 are in the United States, 3 in Mexico, and 2 in Canada. The tournament is played from June 11th to July 19th. It consists of a total of 104 matches with 48 teams competing. That is an increase from the 32 teams that participated in previous editions. Think about that number for a moment. 48 nations. This is the largest World Cup ever staged in history. It is the first time that 3 countries are jointly hosting a World Cup. It is only the second time that more than one country has done so. A tournament so big it stretched across an entire continent. From the heat of Mexico City to the cool evenings of Vancouver. Because of the larger number of participants, it will last 39 days. This is instead of the roughly 32 days of previous tournaments. It had begun 5 days earlier, on a stage soaked in history. The group stage began on Thursday, June 11th, with Mexico hosting South Africa. The opener was at the historic Estadio Azteca in Mexico City. That stadium has seen Pelé lift a trophy in the past. It has seen Maradona's hand and Maradona's genius in the same afternoon. And now it opened the doors to the biggest World Cup ever known. Far away, at the other end of the calendar, the ending was written. The 2026 FIFA World Cup will run from June 11th to July 19th, 2026. The tournament will culminate with the final on July 19th. The game will be at New York, New Jersey Stadium in East Rutherford. Between that opening and that final lay 39 days of drama. On the 6th day, the football world held its breath. The fixtures had lined up in a way that felt almost scripted. The newspapers had already given it a special name. Tuesday was one of the most star-studded days in the group stage. Kylian Mbappé and France began the day by taking on Senegal. Senegal entered as one of Africa's best teams in the competition. The second game featured Erling Haaland and Norway beginning their run. They faced Iraq as Lionel Messi and Argentina prepared for their defense. Argentina began against an Algerian team playing great soccer. 3 matches, 3 legends, and 1 single day. The bookmakers, sensing the moment, lined up the odds like a prophecy. Haaland was the most likely to score at minus 275. He was followed by Mbappe at minus 120 and Messi at minus 115. The whole sport was watching to see if all 3 could deliver. To feel the weight of it, you have to know their travels. Start with the old king and the deserts of Qatar. 4 years earlier, Lionel Messi finally touched the one trophy he lacked. 4 years ago, Messi fulfilled a childhood dream by lifting the World Cup. It was the missing piece in his vast collection of trophies. He had done everything else in football at the club level. He had broken every record and won the Ballon d'Or many times, and yet, for so long, the World Cup had slipped through his fingers. In 2022, he finally seized it in the cruelest of ways. But even that triumph carried a small, sharp wound. He scored 7 goals at Qatar 2022, but missed the top scorer award. He lost that award to Kylian Mbappé during their personal shootout. The man who took the golden boot from him was not finished. Kylian Mbappé had stood across the pitch from Messi in that final. He scored a hat-trick in a losing cause that afternoon. It was a performance so brutal and brilliant that it announced an heir. They were teammates at club level for a brief time. Now they were rivals on the international stage once again. They are separated by more than a decade in age. Now, with more experience, the Frenchman heads to the 2026 World Cup. His eyes are firmly on the prize as France arrives hungry. The team that reached the final in Qatar lost on penalties. They came to North America haunted and determined to finish the job. And then there was the newcomer, the giant Erling Haaland. For years, fans asked why a deadly scorer never played at a World Cup. The answer was his country, Norway, a small football nation. Norway had been absent from the world stage for an entire generation, but Haaland changed that through sheer force of will. Norway's captain led the team to qualification after a 28-year absence. One of the most lethal strikers in Europe would make his debut. The numbers he carried into the tournament were almost unreal. Leading Norway's golden generation, Haaland was the standout performer. He finished as the top scorer in qualifying with 16 goals. That was more than double the tally of his nearest challengers. And his rise had been historic in a way few even noticed. The forward became only the sixth footballer in history to reach a milestone. He was the first in 53 years to reach 50 international goals so fast. He achieved this in fewer than 50 caps for his country. So that was the stage, an aging king chasing immortality, a new prince trying to take the crown from him, and a giant finally walking onto the field he had been denied. The turning point of that Tuesday came in waves. One match after another fed the energy of the next. It started in the afternoon in New Jersey with France. They faced Senegal under the same roof that would host the final. The early signs of the match were nervous and tense. Senegal, fast and physical, refused to bow to the champions. But then the second half came, and with it came the storm. An imperious performance from Kylian Mbappé saw France take control. The 2022 runners-up showed why they were favorites. The final score told its own story. France 3, Senegal 1. But the score was not the headline that evening. The headline was history being made on the pitch. Kylian Mbappé became his nation's all-time leading scorer today. He had been chasing it for weeks with everyone watching. Mbappé had been just one goal shy of matching Olivier Giroud's tally. Giroud achieved 57 goals at the age of 36 for France. Mbappé achieved that feat today at only 27 years old. Let that sink in. He is nearly a decade younger than the record holder. He has a career that still has years left in it. He chose the World Cup to claim it on the final's future pitch. Before we continue, I want to hear your opinion on this. What do you think really happened here in this tournament? Let me know in the comments section down below. But here's where the story turns from a celebration into mystery. It is something that fans are still arguing about today. It sits at the heart of a much deeper question for Argentina. Was the defending champion truly an unstoppable force, or was it a team living on borrowed time with aging heroes? They were hoping the magic would last just a little longer. This is the controversy that experts whispered about early on. On paper, Argentina looked frightening to every opponent. They had not taken their foot off the gas since winning in Qatar. At the 2024 Copa America, they cruised to the title easily. They conceded just one goal over their 6 tournament games. Their road to this World Cup was a total demolition. In qualifying, Argentina easily finished in first place. They were 9 points better than second place Ecuador. They outscored opponents 31-10 over 18 matches. One name sat at the very top of the FIFA World Rankings. Argentina, led by star forward Lionel Messi, is number 1. And yet, beneath that golden surface, there was a doubt. The doubt had a specific number attached to it, 17. The concern is that the team has mostly remained the same since 2022. Lionel Scaloni is still the head coach of the squad. Lionel Messi is still the team's captain and most important player. In total, 17 players on this 2026 team were on the 2022 team. 17 of the same men, 4 years older than before. In football, 4 years is a lifetime for any athlete. Legs slow down and reflexes begin to dull with age. The hunger that once burned can fade into comfort. Critics argued that Argentina had not built a new team at all. They had simply asked the old one to do it one more time. At the center of that gamble stood a 38-year-old man. By his own admission, he was nearing the end of his career. Age 38, this is likely to be Messi's final World Cup appearance. The little magician hoped to pull one last trick out of his hat. When Messi walked onto the field in Kansas City on Tuesday night, he was the third and final act of this historic day. He was not just playing a simple football match. He was answering a question that hung over his country for years. Could the old king still rule the world of football? The evidence arrived faster and more brutally than expected. The first thing the world saw was a moment of doubt. The new technology of the game stepped in immediately. After one goal, each was ruled offside by VAR. Scoring started. A sensational Rodrigo de Paul pass split the Algerian midfield. The ball went en route to Messi, and then it happened. Charging forward, Messi let fly from just outside the box. He hit it with too much power for Luka Zidane to stop. Pause on that name, for it is a quiet poem of the game. The goalkeeper Messi beat was the son of Zinedine Zidane. The French legend lit up World Cups 2 decades ago. One generation of greatness, scoring past the child of another. The torch and the shadow were on the same patch of grass, and Messi was only getting started with his performance. A controlled Argentine performance followed the opening goal. An Alexis Mac Allister shot was spilled onto Messi's path. He tapped it in from a couple of yards out to make it 2. Then came the goal that silenced every doubter in the stadium. It was the kind of goal he had been scoring for 20 years. Messi raced in from the right and cut in toward the center. He curled a low shot into the bottom corner of the net. It was a throwback goal to mark a throwback performance. 3 goals made a hat trick at 38 years old. Lionel Messi was the star again flooring Algeria in the opener. He gave the defending champions a winning start to the cup. Messi's 3 goals mean he's tied Miroslav Klose's record. The 16-goal World Cup record was suddenly within reach. Everyone thought he might finally be slowing down this year. Instead, he climbed level with the greatest goal scorer in history. If you're still watching, subscribe for more football history. Now, here are the hidden details most people missed. The story of the giant making his debut in Boston was remarkable. Erling Haaland had waited his entire career for this moment. When it came, he did not waste a second of his time. The match was in Foxborough at the stadium near Boston. Haaland's goals tell you everything about the striker he is. The first was pure instinct, and the second was pure desire. As the Iraq keeper hesitated, Haaland closed him down quickly. A rushed clearance clattered off his shins and into the goal. A goal born not of beauty, but of relentless pressure. It is the signature of a hunter who never switches off. In his first World Cup half, Haaland had already bagged a brace. Norway marked their return with an emphatic 4-1 win over Iraq. The Iraqis, to their credit, refused to disappear during the game. Ayman Hussein powered a superb header past the Norway goal. Hussein generated power while hanging in the air for a long time, but Norway's quality told in the end as the goals rained down. Leo Østigard powered home a Martin Odegaard corner later on. Christian Thorstvedt glanced home a header after a Haaland flick. By the end of the day, Norway climbed above France in Group 1. Think about the symbolism of a newcomer leading the group. Haaland has 55 goals and 50 appearances for his national team. That is not a hot streak, it is a phenomenon of nature. On that Tuesday, you saw the entire timeline of modern football. 3 ages of the sport writing history within hours of each other. Bettors had a good day as all 3 legends delivered on the pitch. This was the World Cup football had built toward for 100 years. Argentina aimed to become only the 3rd to retain the trophy. The expansion to 48 teams brought nations back to the stage. Iraq, Austria, Norway, Scotland, and Turkey returned for the fans. It was not just a tournament, it was a homecoming for many. The gods had announced themselves and the tournament was on notice. Could a 38-year-old become the greatest scorer in history? This story matters because it captured the past, present, and future. The gods of football wrote history in 3 different cities at once. Subscribe to Football Vault History and see you in the next one.